Alright, let's take a look at our homework from the last few nights. The first thing that they asked us to do was to find the value of k in this equation. So we know that if y is -3 and x is 4, they're asking us what will k be. So -3 equals k times 4. So we're going to divide by 4 so that k equals -3/4. Next one works the exact same way. They're all going to work this way. So 5 equals k times 1/2. So now I'm going to divide by 2. And this means that 10 is k. Same pattern holds true for the rest of them. When we go on 8.1, they're going to give us systems, and they're asking us to solve for both variables here. All right. So I think I'm going to multiply this top equation by 2 and this bottom equation by 3. So I'm going to have -8x minus 6y equals -14. The other equation I'm going to have is 18x plus 6y equals 9. So what I wanted to do here was just add these two together, and that'll give me that 10x right, 10x is -5. We can divide by 10, and this means that x is -1/2. Knowing that information, I still am going to have to remember that I multiplied my equation by 2, so I might need to divide by 2 or, whatnot. Alright, so let's finish this up. So we're going to take this newfound knowledge, x equals -1/2, and we can substitute it back into our original function. So our original function was 4x minus 3y is -7. So we're going to take this information, now that we know what x equals, and substitute it into the equation. So 4 times -1/2 minus 3y is -7. This means that -2 minus 3y is -7. -3y Alright, now we're ready to finish up and make sure that we got the right stuff here. So we can just finally divide by -3. -9 divided by -3 is just 3. Last step I always like to do is make sure that I go back to the other function and make sure that this is true. So -1/2 of 6 is -3. -3 plus 2 times 3 is 6. So -3 plus 6 is 3. That's true. Alright, so we know that our coordinate point is going to work here. Now we solve for x and y. Let's try out number 2. Number 2 says y is -2/3 x plus 4, and they also give us that y, -2y equals 6. So if we divide by -2, we get that y is -3. Now that we know that information, we can substitute it into our original equation, so that -3 is -2/3 x plus 4. So -7 is -2/3 x. My variable is being multiplied by -2/3. Alright. So this will cancel, this will close to 1. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So we're left with x. X equals negative 7 times negative 3 over 2, which is positive 21 over 2. And last one, number 3. Number 3 says y equals x squared. And we also know that y equals 6 minus x squared. So if y equals x squared, then it's also true that x squared equals y. So when I come down here, I have y equals 6 minus y, because x squared is y. So I'm going to add y to both sides, and I get 2y is 6, so y is 3. Now that I know what y is, I can put it right here. So 3 equals x squared. So x is plus or minus 3. Again, your last step would be to make sure that both of these work in your equations. So 3 equals 6 minus negative 3 squared. Negative 3 squared is positive 9. 6 minus 9 is negative 3. And negative 3 does not equal positive 3. All right. Now, tonight's homework is for 8.3. And they want us to simplify each expression here. Alright, so I notice that each of these terms has a 5 inside. So I can at least divide everything by 5. If I do that, 45 divided by 5 is 9. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. Our answer here is 9 over 2x minus 3. So that's okay. When I look at my denominator here, I know that my factors of 28 are 4 and 7. I'm trying to get them to add to negative 3, so negative 7 and positive 4. Negative 7 and positive 4 is negative 3. And then I'll have my numerator again. So we know that x minus 7 and x minus 7 will go to 1. And now we have 1 over x plus 4. 1 over x plus 4 is letter N in your answer box. When I look at my numerator, my denominator, I have an x squared family, and no x here. I have a 2 and 3 and an 8. There's nothing in common in any of these terms. So this expression is in its most simplified form. That's going to be letter E in your answer box. Now it's time for us to start taking the product. So when we take the product, we always want to reduce as many terms as we can before we go in and multiply. So if I have a y and I divide it by 2y, we won't have a y left. On the top I have x minus 1, and on the bottom I have x squared minus 1. And x squared minus 1, the only way you'd be able to get that is if you use the conjugate, x plus 1, x minus 1. And we can see that off to the side here, x plus 1, x minus 1. These are called conjugates. X times x is x squared. This is positive x, this is negative x, and this is negative 1. And that's why conjugates are helpful, is because the middle term will go away, and you're left with x squared minus 1. So if you know the conjugate, you know that you don't even have to factor that. You just know it's x plus 1, x minus 1 on the bottom. That being said, x minus 1 and x minus 1 will go to 1. And so your final answer is 1 over x plus 1. And that is, oh, and then we have a 2 right here. So we can put a 2 right in front, like that. That's going to be W. Let's go ahead and factor this before we multiply, like we did last time. See if there's anything that we can move to 1, and then we'll multiply. So my factors here are going to be x plus 1 and x plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Let's cancel these to 1, and we're going to be left with 3x times x plus 1. This is going to be letter S in your answer box. Now let's switch gears. We're going to go from multiplying to dividing, which, if we know keep, change, and flip, will turn into multiplication. These are all going to be the same problem at the end of the day. It's just that this fraction will need to switch. X minus 1 squared, remember exponents expand. So this is going to give us on x plus 3 divided by x plus 2 times x minus 1 squared. So this is x minus 1 times x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 times x plus 3. Let's see what we have left over once we move to 1. That goes away. That goes away. And now we're left with x minus 1 divided by x plus 2. X minus 1 divided by x plus 2 is answer P in the answer box. Alright, same thing's going to happen here. And we can already see that this has something in, because there's a 3 inside of each of these numbers. So, and we're going to flip this fraction and make this multiplication now. So 1 over x plus 9 times 3 times x minus 6 or 6 minus x. I would genuinely like this to go away, and we're so close, so we're going to make this happen. We're going to say 1 over x plus 9 times 3 times x minus 6. And what I can do is actually pull out a negative 1 here. Now when I do that, I'm going to think, okay, negative times what is a positive? So I can now put x minus 6 here. Let's make sure that still works. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 6 is positive 6. So I haven't changed anything, just the way that it looks, because now that will go to 1. And this is just going to be 3 divided by negative 1, which is just negative 3. And negative 3 times 1 over x plus 9 is negative 3 over x plus 9. And you're going to see that in the answer box in A. All right. So let's reduce some of our terms, and then we'll divide here. We have 10 divided by 5. There's going to be 2. Good thing we still have this here too. All right. So we're going to have 10x squared yz to the 4th divided by 5xy cubed times, now this is already in the numerator, so when we go to flip it, it still needs to be in the denominator, times 2x to the 5th y squared z, and now that 1 will come over a little bit. Alright. Two times 5 is 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So all of your coefficients can go away to 1. When you multiply like bases, you can add the exponents. So this will equal x squared yz to the 4th divided by x to the 6th y to the 5th z. This is because 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. And we have this z over here. Now, the opposite way, when I divide like bases, I can subtract my exponents. So 6 minus 2 is 4. So I can have an x to the 4th on the denominator. I have a y to the 5th, and then a y on the top here. So this will be 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. And now I have z to the 4th and z to the 1st down here. So z to the 4 minus 1 is z to the 3rd. Now you got everything together. You're going to find your final answer here as P in the answer box. Alright, number 9 is going to have us multiplying again. And again, you want to use the same strategy here. You want to simplify and factor as much as you can before you actually get into any of the multiplication so that you can divide out for 1. So we're going to have x minus 8 divided by 6 and 8 will get me to 48. If 8 is negative and 6 is positive, I'll have negative 2. So if 8 is negative and 6 is positive, 6 times 8 is negative 48. Negative 8 and positive 6 is negative 2. And now we're going to multiply that against 4x squared plus 40x. There's a 4x hiding in each of these terms. And I'm going to push it off to the side. So this will be 4x. And then I will have x plus 10, which is left over. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 10 is 40x. And then I'll divide it by x plus 10. Alright, so let's see what falls off. We have x plus 10 divided by x plus 10, that's 1. We have x minus 8 divided by x minus 8, that's 1. And the leftover pieces, I have 4x on the top, x plus 6 on the bottom. 4x on the top and x plus 6 on the bottom is letter E in your answer box. Last one is a division problem. So we have 1 over 5x squared divided by, so now we know that we're going to change this automatically to multiplication, and what allows us to do that is when we flip this fraction. So let's take the denominator first because it's going to turn into my numerator. Inside of each of these terms is a 5x squared, and I'm going to push it off here to the side. 5x squared. 5x squared times x is 5x cubed. 5x squared times minus 7 is negative 35x squared. Now let's work on the bottom. We've got 9x minus 36. There's a 9 in each of these. Alright. So let's see what falls off. We have a 5x squared divided by a 5x squared. That should give us 1. On the top, we're going to have x minus 7. On the bottom, we'll have 9 times x minus 4. And this is going to be answer R in your box. Alright. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.